The Sharks make multiple moves as two players were called up from the San Jose Barracuda once again, including young defenseman Shakir Mukhamadullin. And the players they called up does reflect the San Jose Sharks plan going forward, but the moves don't stop there. As head coach Ryan Warsofsky has spoken about how he wants to change up the lineups, we might have some very interesting positional alignments coming up. A lot of things moving, a lot of things changing with the Sharks. And stick around on this episode of Sharks Digest to hear all of that stuff. But before we get into it, I just wanted to say thank you for the crazy support starting this channel. We're now at almost 700 subs. Hopefully we've passed that by the time you're watching this video, but we got a big goal of 1,000 and still well over 80% of you watching are not subscribed to this channel. This is your home for all the latest Sharks news daily on YouTube. Hit the subscribe button down below. It's completely free. Mark, let's dive right into this. We got to talk about the guys that were called up. Now, Colin Graf and Shakir Mukhamadullin, look, we've heard a lot of talk about them this year. They've been up and down, back and forth. But they've both been pretty solid players this year, and I'm excited to see them both. And it's just good to see the young guys coming up and get given that shot as the Mikael Granlund and Cody Ceci trade sent them both out, the Sharks needing that forward and D replacement. And well, let's just dive into their stats a little bit. They've both been having solid years. Shakir, look, I mean, the number production is maybe not exactly what you'd want to see, but again, he got his first NHL goal this year, and I'm really happy to see him get another chance with the Sharks. He's been taking a little while in his development, but hey, bigger players often do, and defensemen also do as well. So I'm hoping this is kind of that big opportunity for him to go the rest of the season. Depending on how things shake out, he could actually get maybe a lot of run. He might still get sent down at some point, but what do you think about Mukhamadullin finally being back up?
I mean, the biggest thing is we've seen him, and as you can see from this, he hasn't played a lot this year. 21 games with the Barracuda. He came up to the Sharks for 10 games, scoring his first NHL goal, which we seen in the first clip. Might have not been the prettiest, but it's still something that's a huge achievement. Looking at Mook, the biggest thing is he needs to put on a bit of weight. We've seen him miss a bit of training camp into the season with an injury. So with this guy finally getting back into the groove, I think this second stint's going to be nice. He needs a little bit of weight put on. He needs to work on positioning a bit. But I do see a big future with him, and I like getting him into this lineup. Like you said, we moved on from Cody Ceci, so they need to call someone up, getting the young kid some extra burn in the NHL, getting his footing, lighting a fire to make him want to be on this. I mean, everyone talks about it. When someone's in the NHL, they get sent down for a conditioning stint or just to be with the AHL for a bit, you can kind of see them hungry to get back. They might start absolutely dominating the AHL because they want to prove that, yes, I am supposed to be in the NHL. I'm happy right now that I'm in the AHL, but I think this guy is getting the second chance that he deserves. Not saying he didn't deserve the first chance, but I do see him making an extra big jump. I don't know if you think the same way, or do you think this is more of a, hey, let's get him in for a few games, we'll cycle through some Barracudas player, or do you think they're going to just keep him up for the rest of the season?
I mean, it's hard to say at this point, but especially where the Sharks sit in the standings right now, it wouldn't shock me if their priority for the rest of this season was getting the young guys some run. I mean, moving out Granlund was, Granlund and Ceci, a couple more veteran guys. And Granlund was the big guy that we were all talking about, right? As much as we might have loved to see him stick around and mentor the guys, it makes sense for the future of the team, right? Future of the franchise. So right now they're focused on getting the young guys some run, letting them develop. And you do need some veterans around to do that. And you don't want to send Mook out there just, playing these crazy heavy minutes, which is why I think he'll probably end up playing third pairing. He might cycle in and out of the lineup depending on who's available. He might get sent down or not, but I'm just glad to see this happen. And also I want to give another shout out to Colin Graf. We got to talk about this guy and his production. Undrafted, right? 6'1", 22 years old. He's still pretty young. That's the thing with him. Undrafted, some great college numbers. 2 assists in 10 games with the Sharks this year, but I'm already seeing some fans, Mark, say maybe we want to try him on the top line or at least play him with Celebrini. He's shown that skill, and I mean, looking at him in the AHL, the numbers speak for themselves. His production has been incredible. This guy's been a revelation for the Sharks, to be honest, this year, and the way he's played when he's been up will really lend him to some more playing time for sure. He's already proving that he borderline doesn't even belong in the AHL. Maybe I don't want to go that far yet, but I think this is really more of an opportunity for Colin Graf than anything to show hey, yeah, I'm here in the NHL to stay for a while.
Yeah, I mean, looking at Colin Graf, when he came out of college, we seen so many teams in on him. It almost felt like the Jimmy Vesey stake that we seen happen a couple of years ago.
Yep.
But Colin Graf has a lot more potential. He joined the Sharks team. He wanted to join a team that's young, that he can grow with, that he can get ice time, and we're finally going to start seeing this. We see him in the AHL putting up 30 points in 33 games. I believe it is or near the top of rookie leaders in the AHL, and one of the leaders in the AHL in points at this age. Colin Graf does seem like a big part of this future. Not going to say he's going to go in and be the most dominant player on a top line, but I think his potential as a middle six forward, getting him in now to kind of develop that and get closer to that is a huge step. When looking at both these players, I think Colin Graf has the better chance to maybe stay with this team for the rest of the year. I'm not sure if you would want him on the first line. I think it would be kind of cool just to kind of get him into that to see what his potential is. But looking at this, do you think they'll use him as a middle six guy? Or do you think by the end of the season, maybe we see him as Celebrini's line mate?
Hard to tell. I mean, like, I think we're going to put Celebrini with the best players available because he's going to be playing with the best players for the rest of his career, right? Whoever those best players are. What I would say is if you see Colin Graf having a future with a certain player in the lineup, that's who maybe you'd want him to go with. You never really know, right? It's hard to keep guys together, especially on rebuilding teams. Like to have multiple lines stick together long term so they can build chemistry with each other. It's kind of rare, but I just like to see Colin Graf with whoever is going to maximize his potential and whoever's going to work with his game the best. So regardless who it is, I'm excited to see it. But head coach Ryan Warsofsky is certainly he's got some interesting plans. So with the lineup itself, I think we're ready to see some stuff move around because with Granlund gone, there's a lot of questions. But he did say there are no plans to move William Eklund to center. Maybe Will Smith eventually, but not immediately. So now this starts to open questions when you look at the forward core. Like, okay, what are your choices going down the wire here? Like, do you break up this top line of Eklund, Celebrini, and Toffoli, who's been injured? Or do you maybe move Eklund to center? Apparently not. Do you run Smith at center? Or do you have a guy like Wenberg play center? And there's a lot of interesting ideas going around here. I personally would love to see Will Smith get a bit more time at center. Hey, maybe even Will Smith and Colin Graf. Will Smith has looked really good when he's had line mates with him. In his few games with Mikael Granlund, he looked phenomenal, right? So Will Smith's production is getting better and better as we knew it would coming out of college. So right now, it's actually really interesting. Do you foresee them maybe moving Will Smith to center as we go down to the season? I know our coach said maybe not right away, but like it wouldn't surprise me if after a few games of just maybe testing things out here and there, that could end up really being the 2C. Though I guess you could have like Pointberg or something too.
I kind of like getting Eklund in on that second line. We've seen the Lund line, which had Granlund. Sadly, he is gone. But getting the Lund line back on that second line would be quite interesting. You need to find a new line mate to play the wing. But I think getting Smith back with Celebrini, working with Toffoli, which we will touch on these players coming back shortly. But looking at this, I think we're really going to see Ryan just kind of shuffle between these two. They know that both these guys can play center. Finding which one is better off at center right now is a big question. You could put both of them in game by game, working between the second line or with Celebrini. I think either way, towards the end of the season, we might kind of get a picture on who's going to be a winger more towards the middle of their career or who's going to be a center. Now, that could be different. We could see all three of them centering the three best lines in hockey at some point, but I think we're going to see this rotate quite a bit. Would you rather see the Lund line, or sorry, 2/3 of the Lund line back, or do you kind of like Eklund joining Celebrini on that top line?
Like personally, again, like I'm all for giving Celebrini the best talent on the team available to go with him. And I think right now, I think Eklund is that guy. Like I think Eklund Toffoli, this line has looked incredible. Every time they've been on the ice, I've been in awe at them. So at least almost every time. But still, like it depends though, right? Things can change. You could go back to the Lund line and just see what happens. I mean, they've shown chemistry in the past. So what you're saying, like the Sharks have a lot of things they can play with here. I mean, no matter how many changes the coach makes, whether it's with the forwards or the defensemen, there's so many things they could do. All of it's just a bit of a learning process. And this is still a learning year for the San Jose Sharks as you're tumbling down the standings. You're last in the NHL. You're going to get a very top draft pick, as Casey did a great video on potential targets for the San Jose Sharks coming up just, earlier today as of the recording of this video. But like, honestly, putting any of these guys together can work, and it's a matter of figuring out who has chemistry with who. And when you look at a lot of these players here, a lot of them will be part of the long-term future of the San Jose Sharks. At least that's the plan right now. And as we've seen in the past with other teams, if you can develop a couple guys together that'll play together for a while, it'll work well. And that also goes for the defensive end. Now, again, maybe not all these guys are going to be long-term Sharks either, but Warsofsky's like mixing things up, right? He said Thrun will get the first crack at the top pairing with Wallman. And Wallman's been so good this year, right? That trade is still crazy for me. But again, with CC gone, it's Thrun who's coming up on that top pairing. And we actually see here Ferraro and Thompson, which I do like, and Mukhamadullin with a more veteran guy in Timothy Liljegren. And, Liljegren definitely is a third pairing defenseman. I'm not expecting huge things out of that third pairing, but just seeing like guys like this get maybe a bigger opportunity to prove themselves, whether it's to help them develop their skills or maybe in some world get traded in the future after showing they have more value. I mean, we're seeing Wallman's value go up and up and up every single day after that Detroit trade. So I'm just loving the fact that we're seeing a bunch of guys get opportunities with players that maybe they wouldn't have gotten opportunities with before, and even getting a chance to play up in the lineup.
Yeah, and I mean, that's the biggest thing. The problem with this Sharks team, and we're going to see it for quite some time, this team's not going to be super competitive. And listen, we want the Sharks to get a #1 pick. Looking at this lineup, it's going to be fun regardless of a win, loss. We just know they're going to get a first-round pick, hopefully a first overall pick, or multiple first-round picks. But looking at the team, we also do see Toffoli joining back, which will be a big boost. I like him joining the Celebrini line. But looking at this, the Sharks team's not going to be incredible. And listen, I want them to be amazing. But looking at this, we're watching the future. The future is teal. Everyone knows this. We're watching this as they grow. We're watching them develop chemistry together. They might go on a big win streak. They might win a game 10-1. We don't know what holds for the rest of the year, minus the fact they're going to have so many more prospects coming in at deadline. Looking at this, Josh, listen, it's going to be hard to watch the rest of the games. I'm going to watch them. I'm going to enjoy them. They might not be the prettiest, but looking at this in a 2-year time, are we going to look back at this and say, wow, it was worth it?
Yeah, I mean, for sure. That's like, there's a chance that you end up like certain teams in the NHL that I won't name, where like the rebuilds just don't go the way you want them to go. And throughout
Buffalo.
NHL history, that's it. Well, I wasn't gonna, but it happens sometimes. But right now, the Sharks just have too bright a future with all this talent, and even the young guys getting all the minutes they're getting now, with some veteran guys on the roster that can help them learn as well. They're in a great spot. I'm excited. You guys should be excited. Let us know your thoughts down below on these moves the Sharks are making, the roster moves, the lineup moves. It's all getting very, very exciting. But that'll do it for this episode of Sharks Digest. If you enjoyed, leave a like, comment, subscribe to the channel. We're almost at 1,000. You made it this far in the video. You might as well hit the button to stay up to date every single day. I'm Josh Gosse, my co-host Mark Pye. We'll catch you in the next one.